Hello everyone and welcome back to our user-made DLCs. This is going to be made the day before Frontier Unlocked, and we may or may not hear about a new pack coming out. Not sure. If we don't hear, that's going to be interesting. It's going to send the community kind of in a spiral of trying to figure out, is this the last pack? Because we already missed one Frontier Unlocked where they didn't say anything about a new pack and everyone freaked out about that one. But that one made a little bit more sense. It was right off the back of a new pack. If they don't see one in this one, it's going to be a little suspicious. But what are we doing here? We're going through some packs that the community has made. So, this has been some packs made on my Discord. This is probably going to be the last one of these for a little bit, unless some people come up with some new ones. I kind of have taken some of the major ones that I've seen and done those, but I don't think there's any others that aren't just variants of the ones I've already covered. So we're gonna get into this. I'm Greyhammer. I do a lot of Planet Zoo content where a lot of speculation, a lot of building. We'll be doing a lot more of that this week. And so Thursday we'll either have Wednesday's news or I'll be doing a zoo tour. So stay tuned to watch that video. If you want to make sure you are able to see it when it comes out, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But let's get straight into these DLCs. So the first one is by Monkey's Tavern, and that's the European Frontier Animal Pack. We're talking about some species that are kind of emblematic of European wild areas. And so that's the Iberian wolf, which is a subspecies of gray wolf that lives in Spain and Portugal. I'm not as familiar as this one, but it would be interesting to have one in a more scrubland habitat. Also, just a side note, Planet Zoo 2 should have a few more biomes. I think the biome system as it is a little boring. I think it would be way more interesting to have, like, some different ecosystems, so you don't just slap everything into temperate or tropical, but we could have temperate grasslands, temperate forest, temperate mountains, because you do have those, like the Appalachians, and then for tropical, much the same. It would be way more interesting to have more unique biomes, but the Iberian wolf is more found in mountainous scrubland, and that's kind of why I say that. It's not as easily covered by Planet Zoo's biome system, but it would be different than the common timber wolf that we have. But I'm a little skeptical on this one because the wolf we have is supposed to be more of a non-subspecies version of the gray wolf, so it seems weird if we were to have a gray wolf and then just kind of a Iberian wolf as well, considering that the Iberian wolf is just a subspecies. The timber wolf is not actually a designation that's really used anymore, so it's a weird choice to be in the game already, the timber wolf. But if they renamed it to gray wolf, or they could rename it to another North American subspecies, but they'd have to change the map and everything, and Planet Zoo is not going to do that at this point in the game, I don't think. But enough about the Iberian wolf. Still a pretty cool one. It looks like it has a little bit more darker coloration. I don't know if that's natural to the subspecies or if that's due to inbreeding with local dog populations, but could be interesting. The chamois is, I believe, how it's pronounced, or chamois, if you're not French, is a goat species native to the Alps. I really think that these would be a great species, and actually we do have two different species of them, the Pyrenean chamois, and I think it's the Alpine chamois. But they're a really cool species, so could live either in the Alps or in the Pyreneans in between Spain and France. Or Pyrenees, sorry. Really cool species. We're getting a few more mountainous species, so that's definitely a cool one in this pack. But there are really cool smaller goat species, so you would get to see some smaller ungulates, which is kind of a theme of this pack, actually, when we get along further. The Barbary macaque is the only primate found in Europe natively. They live in Spain, so again, we're getting a little bit of Spanish representation in Europe, which is kind of cool. They live in the Strait of Gibraltar, so they also live in North Africa as well, which is a pretty cool species. It can be seen at the Rock of Gibraltar. The European mink is a critically endangered species that has kind of been outcompeted by the American mink that got introduced into Europe. So, really cool mustelid that's semi aquatic, eats mainly crayfish, things like that. Again, I always say mustelids are interesting to add into the game. Look at the honey badger, the wolverine, all the otters. Those are all pretty good picks for species that we have in the game. Always fun to build for those. The roe deer is a very small species of deer native to pretty much all of Europe and parts of Asia. Very cool species of deer. Acts as a prey species specifically for the medium to large sized carnivores, specifically the Eurasian lynx, so it would be cool to have that species in here. Scottish wildcat, or you could just go with the European wildcat, is the domestic, or it's the wild ancestor of the domestic cat, but I believe that the African wildcat is actually the true ancestor of the domestic cat. But the Scottish wildcat is an endangered subspecies, might be critically endangered, that lives in Scotland, duh. And very cool species, highly requested, and looks just like a small cat. It's kind of what it is. Red squirrel is another sort of squirrel species found. I believe it's more emblematic of Ireland and Scotland and England, but I think it might be in other parts of Europe. I'm not as sure. This is the European red squirrel. The American red squirrel is a little less vibrant and doesn't have as large tufts on its ears, but a cool species nonetheless. I think a squirrel in game would be really cool if Frontier can get its climbing right. It needs to be able to whiz through the trees, and so hoping that we get a new climbing thing animations for Planet Zoo 2. The Conic horse is a sort of feral or horse breed that is believed to be somewhat closely related to more wild species of horse, and I think it's thought that they are closely related to the tarpan, perhaps. So while they're not technically wild, they're semi-wild and could be an interesting species for like the steppe regions of Europe, which again, another species whose biome doesn't really fit with Planet Zoo's biome because the grasslands in game or savanna is more emblematic of dry areas, whereas conic horses, well, this is shown in winter, do live in more green areas. But that's enough for that pack. Let's get into the next one. And last time we went over an Indian animal pack by origin, and this is going to be the Indian animal pack by Monkey's Tavern again. So the Asiatic lion would be a great way for us to get a new lion new lion species model. Even though recently it has been classified as being just part of the African lion, it's no longer its distinct subspecies. Rhesus macaque is a pretty emblematic macaque, but we're now kind of getting to the edge where we might actually have too many macaques, at least in reference to other monkey species. So I would say a langur would probably be a better pick here. Sambar deer is a large species of deer that lives in India and other parts of Asia as well. Very common prey for the Siberian tiger. Really cool species. I think I would rather see a chital in an actual India animal pack because they're a little bit more recognizable. But then again, both of those species kind of look like deer we have in game. The sambar deer sort of looking like a red deer, and the chital sort of looking like the fallow deer. So neither one of them is super unique. A Barashinga might be a little bit more interesting. I'm not sure. Indian wolf is one that, again, I'm not a big fan of adding subspecies of wolves into the game. I think the gray wolf, if the model was better, would work for all of these options. But Indian wolf is pretty different than other wolf species, so if we got a new model for it, it would be cool. I think golden jackal kind of fits the role a little bit better, but could be a cool species to have. The Indian giant squirrel, we've seen mods for this by Leaf, and Kanu is actually coming out with one of his new ones, kind of a remodel. And so they're a really cool species. Again, like I was saying, I think climbing animations would need to be improved before any squirrels actually look really good in game. They're just the slow climbing animations don't work great for squirrels. The Indian gray mongoose, I think we talked about this last episode of this series. So if you want to go see more about the mongoose, see that one. But again, another amazing Indian species. I believe Rikki Tikki Tavi from Rudyard Kipling's book is based off of this species. The Himalayan tear is a caprid from the Himalayas, and we actually could use a species like this. It's kind of unique from some other of our sheep species. We don't have too many sheep actually in Asia represented. It's only from North America. We have goats in Europe and Asia, and sheep from North America. So to expand that population would be really cool. The Hulak gibbon is a species of gibbon found in India, so more of a mainland than a Southeast Asia gibbon. I don't know much about these, so I'm not going to talk extensively about them. But would be another gibbon species, which I think is kind of a tough push for me. I could see maybe getting the rhesus macaque and a langur species, but we already have two species of gibbon with the lar gibbon and siamang. This is the last pack by Monkey's Tavern that we're going to cover for at least a bit, and that's the Caribbean Animals pack. And I think this pack is pretty cool, but I'm not sure that it will actually get... I don't think it's would get made because there's not too many species in here that would be super well received by the public. So the agouti is a small rodent. This is one that I think people would like a decent amount. Small rodent, I believe it's closely related to the capybara, but very commonly seen in zoos. I guess it's actually a medium-sized rodent when you think about it. Medium to large. Scarlet ibis is a bird species pretty emblematic to the Americas. You see them in a lot of wetland aviaries. Really beautiful bird. Can be found, I believe, in parts of southern Florida as well. And would be cool to have this bird species in the game. The Solenodon is a very weird shrew-like animal that I honestly don't know that much about, but they're found in, I think the Honduras has a Solenodon, and some other islands, or some islands, have Solenodons as well. Maybe Haiti? I'm trying to remember the subspecies, or species of Solenodons. Again, I don't know much about them, so I'm kind of just saying things out of my butt. Cuban crocodile is a highly requested crocodile species, much more aggressive and agile than other crocodile species. And we really don't have any crocodile species outside of the saltwater crocodile, which is really just upsetting. We've got a lot of really cool species that are not represented. The next two species, the Mona monkey and the green monkey, I don't know much about, but apparently they have been introduced from Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, that they are two species of monkeys introduced to the Caribbean and have formed wild populations there. So I think based off pictures, they look to be two smaller species of monkey primates, and representation from Africa is always lacking, so that's something decent. But they're kind of the reasons I don't think this pack would be made, is it's got a few stretches to get Caribbean species in. The nutria is another species. I think they're native to the Caribbean, but I know they are native to South America and have a very invasive species, similar to a muskrat almost. A very aquatic species of rodent, sort of like a smaller beaver almost. The Turks and Caicos rock iguana is another iguana species. We haven't gotten any of the more interesting iguana species, like a rhinoceros iguana, and so sort of this rock iguana would be interesting to add into the game. So that's all for Monkey's Taverns for a little bit. Let's go, and Origin has a few packs. So the Coastal Americas pack adds a few species from more aquatic. So this kind of works as an aquatic part 2 pack. And we've got the American sea otter. I guess it could also be the Russian sea otter. But really cool species. Again, another marine mustelid. It spends most of its time in the water, which is pretty cool. But unfortunately, Planet Zoo, of course, is not going to represent that super well, probably. Rockhopper penguin is an Antarctic species of penguin. Very cool to see in real life. I've seen them quickly, pretty recently. Sorry, my brain is scattered, but they're very cool. And if we don't get news about Planet Zoo on Wednesday, then you'll be seeing a zoo with some of these on Thursday. The walrus is a large pinniped species from the Arctic. It uses those large tusks to kind of go through the silt to find shellfish, which is its main diet. Very rare in zoos, but not unheard of. So would be one of the pinniped species that would be cool to see in Planet Zoo. Hawaiian monk seals, I'm not sure how common they are outside of zoos in Hawaii, but I do believe they are kept in a few rescue facilities there. And hey, we already have the Saiga antelope, which is only found in 2 zoos in the world anyway, so let's go ahead and add the Hawaiian monk seal. Really cool species, more of a tropical seal species, which is pretty rare. There's not too many monk seals left, and most of them are endangered. We've got the Hawaiian, and I think the Caribbean is still out and about, but the one that we had in the Gulf, which I can't remember the name, the Caribbean. Did I say Caribbean monk seal? It was the Mediterranean monk seal. The Caribbean monk seal is extinct. So sorry. Again, brains are scattered. Would be cool to have them in game though. Green sea turtle would be another species that I think a lot of people would like to see in game. You see them in a lot of like rescue centers as well. I have seen them in the wild in Florida. They're pretty cool. And again, who doesn't like turtles? The marine iguana would be an iguana species that I think you'd have to see not in an exhibit, because they need a lot of swimming area. So, would be really cool to expand the Galapagos roster. So something like a marine iguana, and then we already have the Galapagos sea turtle and the American flamingo. And that's about all of our Galapagos species. We only have 2 right now. And iguanas are a cool addition to that, especially a unique species like this that's semi-aquatic. The brown pelican is a cool species native to the Gulf of Mexico, and I'm sure other regions, but that's where I know it from. They are a really cool bird species, and I would love to see this as the pelican species in game, even though I think an Australian white pelican or some other pelican species are probably more commonly kept in zoos, would be my guess. Coconut crab would be a really cool exhibit animal. I know they're kept in, I think it's the Toledo Zoo. I can't think of any other zoos that have them, but they are a really cool species and would love to see them in game. Our last pack by Origin, and that is the Birds pack. This would be a fan favorite, but something I doubt Frontier will do because it would be too good. Unfortunate, but we got some really cool species of birds here, and let's get straight into it. The Victoria crowned pigeon is the largest living pigeon species found in Papua New Guinea. Very beautiful bird where its feathers are often used for native headdresses. Golden pheasant from the sort of Himalayan region, so you're talking about China, I think some parts of India maybe as well, but definitely China. A very beautiful bird. All these bird species are more ground dwelling or water birds, which means that they could actually be included in current Planet Zoo without having to add a bunch of crazy new animations. You could just rig them off of species we've already got. Victoria crowned pigeon and golden pheasant, you could rig off of the peafowl. I can't think of another, or the chicken, which I think the chicken might actually be rigged off the peafowl. But The superb lyrebird, much the same, is a really cool Oceanian bird species that makes all kinds of crazy calls and will mimic sounds, sort of like a mockingbird in the US, but to greater extent. They also create these elaborate mound nests, which could be the basis of a new enrichment thing similar to the beaver dam enrichment piece. Scarlet ibis we've already talked about, so we'll move on to the marabou stork, a large carrion-eating species of stork that lives in Africa. So eats small animals, and carrion is really cool. Would be interesting to have more representation of African river systems. The southern ground hornbill is from South Africa and is a pretty large hornbill species. And there's not much to say about these. They eat small lizards and birds and things like that, snakes. And I believe the southern ground hornbill has symbiotic relationships with mongoose, like a lot of other hornbill species. So it would be cool to include them with species like possibly meerkats, or could be interspecies enrichment with a bunch of ungulates as well. Whooping crane is a cool species, endangered species of North America. We definitely see them in zoos somewhat frequently. I believe they are kept by the Houston Zoo and some others as well, but they're really cool, and I always get them and the sandhill crane mixed up, but I think the whooping crane is the one that only breeds currently in Texas. The mandarin duck is in a Chinese species of duck, very highly requested by the community for its beautiful coloration here, very closely related to the American wood duck, which you'll actually see some pictures in my next zoo tour video. Again, I'm really plugging that zoo tour. It's coming out Thursday or Saturday, so go ahead and watch that. It's going to be really nice. I haven't recorded it yet, but I know. But that's going to be it for this video. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I know it was a bit of a longer one and a lot of me just talking, but, you know, it's good practice for me to just talk. So let me know what you think in the comments below of what packs you'd like to see in the future. If you do want to create some pack ideas, go ahead and put them in the descriptions. I might, or, join my Discord. You could put them in the description, but if you want to give me a graphic, which makes it a lot easier for me to present on them, go ahead to my Discord, contact Reiki, because he has a format that he can share to you through Canva, and you can make your own pack ideas, and I'll cover them eventually. But probably next week we're going to do a sort of what Planet Zoo 2 needs that isn't a lot of the crazier features that we're expecting. I think that's going to be an interesting one. Is just going to be talking about what Planet Zoo 2 actually needs to really make the gameplay more enjoyable, in my opinion. So we'll definitely be covering that. We'll have either a speed build coming out Saturday, or we'll do a zoo tour. I'm not sure which, depends on... it's probably going to be a zoo tour, if we hear something Wednesday. We'll definitely have to see how that goes, though. It might be a park tour of my Prehistoric Kingdom park. Who knows? I don't, that's for sure. But if you want to see any of those videos and be sure, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Go ahead and leave a like on this video, because it will help this video out quite a bit and help me out. And yeah, comment below what packs of these you especially like. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.